applied for a job and then they invited me to do a psych test, essentially. I think the way I answered the question was a bit too compassionate. I think in my third year of practicing, I hit a very dark spot. I had a really bad mental breakdown where I literally just like shut my laptop and just ran to Canberra for a weekend. I was a mistress, but apparently she claimed to be a partner from China.
Did they actually, can you know if they got anything out of it, or you can't say?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Rice and Mike's podcast. I'm your host, Bao Nguyen, and today I'm joined by Bao Nguyen. Bao, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
How are you going?
Very good.
That's good. I know this has been a bit of a long time coming, and also, if you guys don't know, Bao has actually been one of my OG listeners back in the day. So about 5 years ago, I remember you emailing me with some topics that I should cover. That would be good to cover. And I don't know if I actually did cover them.
You did.
Did I?
Yeah. So about 5 years ago, everyone knows that COVID hit.
Yeah.
And I was listening to podcasts quite a lot. And I was looking for podcasts that were more Asian-based. And then Rice and Mice came up in my suggestions.
Oh, nice. So the algorithm's working.
It worked. I think at the time, we only had about 3 episodes up. And I was like waiting for the next one, but then I also wanted to listen to content that I wanted to listen to. So I emailed him. I was like, hey, have you considered having these topics in there?
Yeah.
And then you were very polite about it. So you responded back. You're like, yep, definitely take it on. And then later on, I did see it.
I think it took a while though.
It took a while. And then after that, COVID died down. And then I went back to work full time in the office and stopped listening to the podcast.
Oh, that's all right. Very, very flattering of you.
But very fond memories, and I think what you've done here in this space is very admirable, and we don't have many of this.
Oh, I wasn't expecting the compliment. Okay, that's all right. I'll send you money later. That's great. Yeah. So how we know each other, I actually know you through your sister.
Wait, is that right? Because I feel like I've known you before.
I've known of you, but I knew more of you from your sister after that. Because I worked with Bao's sister, shout out to Jennifer. We actually worked together for a short while in Metro. Should I even mention that? Myself?
Oh, she's not there anymore, so it's fine.
Yeah, well, I'm doxing myself. But anyway, look, if you find my LinkedIn, it's like pretty easy to find where I work at anyway. But yeah, she was like, oh, my sister is actually Bao. And I was like, wait a minute. I know you. But I've known of you, I think, during school as well. And through some of my friends, because we grew up in the same area, so it's
we're the same age as well, so
yeah, same year. So it's kind of a given that we have some circles that connect with each other. Anyway,
yeah. And I think last year is when we went to the SWEH Expo, and
what is SWEH Expo?
Okay, so
listeners.
So in our suburb or our electorate, we have something called the Southwest Entrepreneur Hub, whereby businesses within Western Sydney can come and do, showcase, network and so forth. And last year there was an expo, so a lot of business signed up to it. My law firm was one of them, so we had a booth. I was just handing out like pens and notebooks and things like that, and trying to engage with the local area on, legal services. But the way that we try to engage ourselves is more of like a chit chat and be relatable and see if we can assist. If we can't assist, it's fine. But at the same time, you know where to go.
What is the law firm, if you want to shout them out? Or do you not want to dox yourself?
I mean, my LinkedIn is up there. So.
Okay, yeah.
So my law firm, our law firm, my boss's law firm is Arver Law. So her name is Anne Vo. She started the firm in 2019. At the time, I think she was only 27 years old. It's been quite a long time now, and all I can say is she's probably one of the most inspiring people that I know. The biggest boss bee, if I had to say myself.
Are you just saying that because they might listen to this episode?
No. I truly am. Everyone has a mentor, right?
Yeah.
And over the years, I watched her grow, and I'm so proud to be part of the journey with her. And that's why wherever I go, I promote the firm quite well, because I genuinely love what she does and what she did for the firm.
Yeah. And so that kind of ties into what we're doing with this episode. The reason why Bao is here is because there's a few different topics that might be interesting to some of us. So she is a lawyer, as you might have guessed. Nathan is also a lawyer, but they're not exactly the same kind of lawyer. You guys are a bit different. I think he does
commercial and litigation, was it?
Yeah.
Oh wait, it has family law too, doesn't he?
I never remember. I think he does copyright law as well. Is that
Yeah,
one?
so a bit of everything. But a lot of lawyers are generalists anyway. It's like doctors.
But you specialize in something, right?
You focus on an area of law, division of law.
It's like medicine. It's like, oh, you could be a dentist. You could be, I don't know, doctor.
Yeah, that's right. So
like
in
that.
law school, you have to learn a plethora of, law subjects.
Yeah.
And then later on, when you start practicing, you kind of fall into like an area of law that you enjoy or you're good at. So yeah, I think Nathan was doing commercial family litigation.
I never pay attention.
I did look on the website to see what he does. But
Yeah.
from memory, a couple of years ago, that's what he did. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been doing law for how long now?
Okay, so I guess deep diving into when I started law. So my law journey, like my professional law journey, started in 2015. So at the time, I wasn't a law student yet. I was studying criminology at New South Wales.
And you finished high school same as me, so it would have been 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So you went straight into it.
Yeah, so that year was an interesting year. My parents always envisioned me to be a lawyer. I knew I was going to be a lawyer, but I just didn't want to
Did you actually, or were you kind of gaslit into thinking you wanted to be a lawyer?
A little bit of everything. I mean, when I was in year 4, my mum told my relatives, my eldest daughter is going to be a lawyer. And I genuinely believed that for a very long time. And then something kind of hit me when I was doing my preferences, because I got offered law at another university. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do law because my parents said I want to do law.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something that I want to do.
Like a doctor.
Not quite. So to my parents' dismay, I chose a Bachelor of Criminology and Criminal Justice. So at the time, I was watching a lot of crime shows, and I thought that I could be, one of those inspectors in the future.
What kind of show are we talking about here?
NCIS, I think I was watching at a time. I watched a lot of I read a lot of Sherlock Holmes as well. So a lot of things that, crime related. And I thought I saw a future there. So I did my first year in 2015 in criminology. So about midway through 2015, I went off and signed up. Well, I tried to get a job basically in the field. And
While you were studying?
I was studying. So there was a role that came up. It was a youth officer role at a youth juvenile justice centre, which is like a prison for naughty kids. That
sounds really intense though, to start as your first job.
Yeah, but I was so ready to prove my parents wrong. I can create a career out of this. So I went, applied for the job, and then they invited me to do a psych test, essentially. And at the time, I think 2015, psych test was relatively new. So I went to that youth centre, or youth justice centre, and I remember sitting in this row of people, and I was the youngest there at the time. And a lot of people there, they were really strong, tall, well-built. And I was like, am I in the wrong room?
As in staff?
The people that applied for the role, because you had to do the test in person. It wasn't online. And I thought that was really weird, but test was in person. So I went there, and the question was just so bizarre to me. It was just basically, what would you do in this situation? And a lot of it was related to, these young people. So I don't want to go too much. I can't remember too many other questions. But yeah, the short of it is that I failed the test really bad. Really, really bad.
How do you fail it though? They're just you're too sane to work at a prison.
I think
you have too much empathy.
I think so. I think the way I answered the question was a bit too compassionate. And obviously when you're working in a youth centre as a youth officer, you can't be too compassionate. I think is that why I failed the test. So yeah, and then when I failed the test, I was like, oh my gosh, what if I don't have a career in this? What's going on? My parents are right. So then towards October that year, if I remember very clearly, I started reaching out to my relatives. And then in Cabra, because I grew up in Fairfield, Cabra has a plethora of law firms as well.
Oh, yeah. There's so many of them. But I think you don't really notice a lot of them.
Yeah.
They just sort of have their sign out the front, and it's kind of if you need to know, then it's there.
Yeah, that's right. So a lot of them are Asian ran, about I would say immigrants that came from Vietnam, did a law degree. Right. So I put my resume around, and then there was one resume that was accepted by this solicitor at the time. And I was I turned 19 that year. I told this guy, dude, I have no experience, literally no experience, and nothing to offer. I'm a criminology student, not even a law student. Are you going to take me on?
I thought they were kind of the same. Criminology, something to do with law.
It's more of a social science, artsy kind of degree.
So like psychology.
A little bit. You look at the theories as why people commit crime and so forth. So yeah, I told this guy, dude, I have no experience. Are you going to take me on? And not in that way, but along the lines. And he was like to me, I need a receptionist that can speak Viet. And I'm like, I can speak Viet. That's my only skill I can offer. You can speak Viet.
Are you pretty fluent?
I would say so now. So over time, I've been trying to tune in, so listening a lot to Vietnamese podcasts, movies. I have a friend in Vietnam too that I call every now and then. I fly back about once a year as well. So
that's smart. Because I've been thinking of trying to pick up more Viet lately. Yeah. And I'm like, let's try Duolingo. And Duolingo is like, it's northern Vietnamese accents.
Yeah.
And I'm from the south. I don't know about you.
I'm from the south too. Yeah.
So there's different, it's the same wording, but it's just really strong accent in the north.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of words are slightly different. For example, we say jeng, right? They say back, which is like a bowl.
Oh, but yeah.
So
there's a few little nuances, but it's like mostly the same, but it's kind of like country versus city in English if you want to compare it. So like that. There's different accents.
But definitely watch movies, Viet movies. It helps a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Send me a list of recommendations because I feel like a lot of them are all these like period dramas with romance and it's like over the top acting.
Vietnamese movies have gone a new notch now. So a lot of directors are going down the Hollywood route. So strong scripts, strong directing and so forth.
I actually have watched one recently. Not recently. It might have been like a year or two ago. And it was in that style. It's more Hollywood style. I think it was Nhà Bà Nữ.
Oh, yeah, Manu. Yeah, it's from Trung Thanh Town, the production.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, I just remember seeing it and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just watch this.
He's now known as the top 3 directors in Vietnam. So I think he studied in UK, I'm not wrong. He has a British accent.
Oh.
So he speaks English as well.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, I'll definitely check more of him out.
Yeah.
I don't know my listeners, if you listeners can tell, but I'm a little sick. But I'm trying to push through it.
You do sound nasally, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bit like phlegmy.
All right, we'll try to wrap up really fast.
No, the sickness is always, it's still going to be there. But yeah. So you became a lawyer. No, you weren't a lawyer.
Oh, so yeah, I think we're still at the part where I got my first job.
Yep.
Cabra. Yeah, and then even though I was a receptionist, he kept throwing things at me because it was so understaffed. So I remember the first thing that I worked on was a sexual assault case. And that case made me not want to be a criminal lawyer.
Yeah, it was really intense.
It was intense. Can't say too much about it, but it did involve a child at a time. God. So yeah, I just could not. Yeah, it was hard because you're drafting evidence and affidavit and a lot of things are sensitive. So for me, that ruled out completely criminal law. And then he started throwing me property cases, property law, so conveyances, which it's fine because it's just very transactional.
Building stuff.
Buying and selling property. So, for example, conveying title when you purchase property and then you're selling and so forth like that. So that was okay. But the thing is with Asian lawyers and mentors, in my view, is they don't really teach you. They expect you to know what you're doing. So I was like throwing cases and they were like, hey, can you just get this settled? And I'm like, what do I do? It's like, just ask. So a lot of time is like me asking the other side of a solicitor, what do you need from me? What's the next step in this? And that's how I learned over time. And yeah, it was good for a while. And then I just knew I needed to move on. So found other experiences as well, got other internships and progressed since then.
Doesn't sound like a very good environment to learn if you have to. They kind of throw you in the deep end from the sound of things.
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly for me, I think that's the best way you learn as well, is that you take the initiative to go off and understand what you're doing, what the implications are. I mean, there is like a good side to it as well. But after that, when I changed to a more Western firm, there was a completely different procedure. The way that they practice. Everything was a risk assessment, ensuring that you are risk averse, not only for the firm, not being sued, but also for your clients as well. So I remember when I moved to a more, I would say, was a mid-tier firm, the first thing I was handed in, it wasn't even like work, like cases. It was like a manual book on how to practice and how the firm practices, what font they use, what type of dress they use.
Oh, that sounds so boring.
Yeah, how do you build hours? What's your billable like? What's the expectation? How you address your partners? And there's also the silent rule where, you know, if you go home at 5:30, you're kind of judged for it.
Oh, so it's very like Japanese style.
Yeah, they don't say it. They say you can go home,
Work
but then
culture.
everyone gives you a look. It's like, why are you going home? We're still here. So
Just for that firm, or are you saying
a lot. So the other thing that people don't really talk about is the toxic culture of lawyers. So people think that lawyers are so prestigious. You did this wonderful degree, and you earn good money, and you have this lifestyle. You have a high-rise building. You walk out. It's not like that.
like suits?
Yeah, like suits. But behind the scene, really, you're working like ridiculous hours. I had a friend that worked at a top-tier firm where at 2 a.m. in the morning, she got an email from her partner. And then her partner was like to her, hey, I need a response to this, basically this question or this query. And then by 7 a.m. in the morning, they had a Teams meeting. And then she'll get like bagged out, like, hey, I sent you an email at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I didn't get a response yet.
Well, okay, well, but partner meaning like your client, whatever.
No, the
right?
firm partner. So do you know how law firms are structured?
Did
Did
not
Nathan
really.
explain it in his...
Oh, God, it was a while ago.
Okay.
But do it anyway.
Yeah, so typical law firm, you will have partners. Partners are usually people who own the firm, either in equity or, you know, a salary partner. So equity is when you get a slice of the firm. Salary is when you get paid
Yeah.
for your time being a partner or boss. And then under partner, you have a senior associate, which is like the next step to partner. And then you have associate, which is where I'm at the moment. And then you have your lawyers, and then you have your, I think, junior lawyers, and then
paralegals,
graduates, and then paralegals, and then legal assistants.
Oh, God.
So
Okay.
there's a hierarchy to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, she was backed up by her partner. I'm like, why didn't you respond to an email saying you're 2 o'clock in the morning?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
But you say like, bro, I'm asleep.
That's the culture. And I have friends who worked over the weekends because they need to get this deal closed. You know, whole weekend just working. Back in the days,
Can't do that.
in our second year of working, I remember this. So second year of uni, two of my friends were catching up. So all our law firm friends were catching up.
Yeah.
We both brought our laptops to the dinner, and we're like, oh, sorry, we've got to send out this email.
Oh, yeah.
All throughout the whole dinner. But that's how it is. Like, we're constantly on call for the client. But people think it's just, you know, good money, but it's not. You work it out, the salary you get and the amount of hours that we work, it's actually not much.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because sometimes I see Nathan, he has to work a lot of overtime. He works past 5, finishes like 7 or something. Maybe he works on a weekend here and there. And man, I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure I get paid more than you at this rate if you're doing all these hours. If you want to calculate it hourly. And I just can't do that. Once it's like 4:30, I'm already checked out. And I know some of my colleagues listen to this, so sorry if you do. But yeah, it's a bit different working in a IT role that's also government based compared to like a private firm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
sector.
I'm so envious of Jen. Like, she just finishes at 5 o'clock, close the laptop, and that's it. I'm like, what do you mean? I don't finish at 5 o'clock. So it's interesting. People have perception of lawyers where they're invincible, they're doing great. But one of the biggest facts as well, when we get admitted, before getting admitted, we do a course. It's called PLT course, Practical Legal Training.
Yeah.
Whereby you have to like basically do like all these risk assessments and management and introduction to being a lawyer. And one of the things that they taught us is, you know, mental health, because apparently lawyers has one of the highest suicide rates out of all professions.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it's crazy. Like, I think in my 3rd year of practicing, I hit a very dark spot, like a very, very dark spot. I was like, what the fuck am I doing in my career? Why am I here? And I had a really bad mental breakdown where I literally just like shut my laptop and just ran to Canberra for a weekend and just like shut off all social media, all my emails.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where was this during work or when you
It was
were...
my work in my 3rd year, because I was just, like working so much. Like, I'll finish at 11 p.m. most days, and I just didn't know what I was working towards.
What was the goal? Because, wait, you finish at 11?
Yeah.
And then what time do you start work the next day?
So usually I get off around 7 and I'll get to the office about 8:30 to 9. But yeah, it was just like constant work. I wouldn't leave my desk. Sometimes I skip lunch because something was too urgent.
Are you just living to work?
Yeah, and I think that's where it broke me. I was just like, my friends are living their life, doing all the things they want to do, and I'm just slaving away because I don't know what I'm doing, but it's great because money's great, but it's not that really great.
Once you factor in the hours that you're doing.
But I think luckily for me is that once I had that mental breakdown, I was basically able to share that to my firm, like, hey, this is something that needs to change because it's affecting us. And down the track when we hire juniors, which we do now, and a lot of time with my junior lawyers as well, I remind them, it's important you take breaks. It's important that you tell me if you're overworked or you feel like there's too much going on so that I can reallocate. And you can.
It all starts from the top, right?
It does.
And then if you have like that shitty boss who's like really old school, you got to come in 5 days a week.
That's why I'm so grateful to my boss, because she's just so open to the idea of culture and change.
Oh, see, a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
See, that's why I don't get these older bosses, which and they just want everyone to come back to the office. I'm not coming back to the office, man. Like, man, I live in Cabra. Is that
why you never done it? I'm joking.
No, that was far from it, but without diving too much into politics, but we all don't live close to the city, and why would I want to come into the office, take like an hour plus, I don't know, 15 minutes walk each way just to sit in the office and go on a Teams meeting? Like, what's the point? Yeah.
Fair enough.
So you started at this this firm in Cabra, was it?
Yeah.
How long were you there for?
I was there up until even my 4th year because I was juggling roles. So I'll do internships and come back to it because it was...
Was it a toxic relationship? Go back to this bad ex that treats me bad at Cabra.
In a way, like I have a soft spot for this principal solicitor because I feel like he took me on when I had no experience and he had no one. And I don't know why he didn't hire people. He should have hired people.
Money, that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, before he came to money. And for me, I never asked for a pay rise. Throughout the whole 4 years I was working for him, I never asked for a pay rise.
Basically got... yeah.
Right, I know. People say, did you exploit it? But at the same time, I actually learned a lot. I think the value of me learning was more, outweighs the whole entire monetary reward. When I finished uni, so after that role, I went off, before that actually. So during the 4 years, I went to internships. So one of the internships I did was at Maccas. So I was doing an in-house internship. So I worked with... the
legal team.
Maccas, yeah. For about 3 months. And that was really cool because I got to see behind the scenes on products being launched, the implications
that's interesting.
Liability, where there's trademark issues, copyright issues of certain things.
Coffee temperature.
I think at the time that was when the Big Jack and the Big Mac was in dispute.
Oh yeah.
So my solicitor, my principal solicitor at that particular division was telling me about the costs going down on that. But that was interesting for me to see behind the scenes of why that's in dispute.
Yeah.
And they took me on campaigns as well because they have office in the city. So the main office in Thornley. Yeah, so I was in Thornley most of the days, but then sometimes I go to the city to the other office. The coolest thing for me when I was interning at Maccas was that they get catering.
Every day? Like
on certain days, not Maccas catering, but they have there's food out of nowhere for staff members. And that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, I feel like if it was Maccas catering, everyone would get a bit sick of it and everyone in the office would probably have to stretch their pants a bit.
And they also have on demand kind of a barista from Maccas come make coffee as well, which is...
Oh my God.
That was cool.
This is what I miss about the private sector. And I know I've brought this up a couple of times in a few other episodes. But just comparing workplaces, man, sometimes I just want some pizza or something.
Yeah.
But the trade-off is I clock off at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and that's it.
You have flex leaves as well, don't you?
Yeah. So I went to Korea. So for context, flex leave, if any overtime you do gets banked, and then you can use that as leave instead of using annual leave.
You'll never see that in the private industry.
No, never. So when I went to Korea, half of my leave was annual leave, half of it was flex time. So I've still got a big bank of annual leave ready to go. Yeah.
I'm still in negative leave, to be honest, from my ongoing trips.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Maccas internship happened and I worked at a few other firms in between too. So I did an immigration gig, did a bit of commercial law too.
I feel like you've done a lot of things to
knock it out,
have your resume padded quite well once you've got into your full-time gig.
That's right. So a part of it's also resume building because I knew that because I came from Western Sydney, there was a disadvantage towards me.
It was actually?
I feel like it was harder when I was interviewing for jobs as well, especially where it's a bigger firm, the candidacy, usually people do, okay, I'll give you an experience. So in fourth year, people do things called clerkship. I don't know whether you know what clerkship is.
Clerkship.
Yeah. So it's this whole prestigious thing whereby law students hoping to secure a grad role will have to apply to get a clerkship with a certain firm. It's basically an internship, a summer internship. And then once you finish the clerkship, it'll transfer into a full-time role. So when that year in fourth year,
kind of like an internship?
An internship was guaranteed basically a graduate role.
Yeah.
So, but people go to do clerkship because it's the prestige behind it. Once you offer clerkship, you're basically in the firm.
Oh, okay.
One step in.
Right.
Yeah. So usually the major firms, the top 6, they will offer a clerkship. And I remember in 2018, I was in Shanghai actually. So I was studying in Shanghai. I got offered to study on a scholarship. I did a law.
Wait, what are you doing in Shanghai? You on holiday?
No, I was studying. So I got offered.
Oh, you're doing like was it international?
Summer elective.
Yeah. I keep forgetting what the term is.
Yeah. But yeah, I was in Shanghai. So my university gave me a scholarship to go study in Shanghai. It was really good. But yeah, I studied at Jiao Tong, which is one of the top universities in China. I think still now they are at the law school there.
Jiao Tong.
Okay. Jiao Tong. And yeah, did a course there. But during the time, it was crunch time because the time period to apply for clerkship was I think a month.
Did you have to do your courses in Chinese?
Bro, it was so interesting because like the slides were in Chinese, the lecturer spoke in English. So I was like, English, sorry. And
Slides were in Chinese. What?
And I was just like so confused. I was like, why are you, teaching us the slides in Mandarin?
Yeah.
But the actual content is in English. So I felt like the actual slides itself was kind of useless because we couldn't even read it properly. But yeah. But the course itself was an introduction to Chinese legal system. So I learned quite a bit about Chinese law, and then at the end of it, you had to do like a mini thesis on the topic. I did mine on whistleblowing in China. So the whole
that's kind of
I feel like that piece of like work that I wrote now would not be
Is that safe to talk about in China?
But it was interesting because it made me understand more about how legal system works in Australia versus China.
Yep.
Did really well in that. I think I got a distinction in the end, so I did quite well in that particular course. But yeah, so during that time, I was applying for internships with the clerkship itself, the program, and a lot of my friends who was in Shanghai with me was also in the same boat. And it was interesting because we also had JD students. So JDs are postgraduate students applying.
JD Coke?
JD, so it's called Juris Doctor. So they basically...
Jack Daniels?
Juris Doctor.
Yeah, that's what I think about, yeah.
Yeah, so, JD's applying for as well. And they had all these resources from people that they knew that did the clerkship and succeeded. I had none of those resources. So when I was applying for my one, I was banking on the fact that I've done some experience in the past. I worked at a law firm as a paralegal and hoping that, that's enough to get me through. So in the end, most of my friends actually got, 3 or 4 first round offers, to come in to do an interview. I ended up with 2 at a time, but 2 was more than I hoped for, to be honest. I just didn't think I'd get any.
Yeah.
Now, the first one that I went to, it was a bit pretentious in my view. We had a cocktail as a meet and greet, and all the partners were like sitting around different tables, and you can come to the table and basically be likable, impressionable.
Selling yourself
to these partners, hoping that they remember your name. So
this kind of reminds me of like graduate programs.
Yeah.
When I was nearing the end of uni.
Oh, was it similar like that too, even in graduate programs?
Yeah. But these are like the big four type of graduate programs. I hated the people there.
It was very similar because you come there and you have to gloat about their deals, they'll be like, I see that you're working on the West Connect deal.
Yeah. What do you know about the company? Oh, yes, you guys have been around for 20 years.
And all these people, all the other students will recite the deal as if it was like core memory. They knew word by word, what was achieved, the figures and so forth. And I was so unprepared. I walked in like, hi, I'm Bao.
It's like a quiz or something.
Essentially, yeah. And needless to say, I did not succeed in that firm.
Are you kind of glad you didn't? It didn't seem like a place to be.
At the same time, I am, because I feel like I wasn't made for a top tier firm. I think the way that I practice is a bit different too.
Top tier firms being, I know there's like top 4 accounting where you got like EY,
Allen's,
PwC.
HSF, KWM. Yeah,
I don't know any of them.
Yeah, so they are the major top firms. There's quite a few more too that's now emerging. But yeah, just wasn't made for it. And then the second firm that I got interviewed at, or offered to interview at, the first round was actually a round table test. So whereby you'd be put in a table with a bunch of other candidates and they give you like a problem solving question. The question we had was on family law, on asset division. And the partner would sit at the end of the table and observe the way that you problem solve the question. You can discuss it. So
How you solve it, okay.
yeah, so that one I passed quite well, apparently. So when I was doing that first one, I did really well in. And then round 2 was a partner interview. And I remember I was so nervous that day. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to meet the partner. And then when I went in, immediately I just knew that he did not like me.
What made you say that?
So the partner I had at the time, he was a white Caucasian man, quite big. I sat down and from our friends' interviews with our partners, they were like, oh, if they like you, they'll start asking more about you. They'll, really smile you, greet you, things like that. None of that. I just basically sat down. Okay, look at your resume. Blah, blah, blah. This is what you did. Okay, cool. Bye. That was it. Like nothing else. I think the interview was only 10 minutes. It was so short. But
I wasn't interested.
he was interested in me. And I think he really knew who he wanted.
What was that?
The clerks, out of the clerks. Because you only get offered about, I think, 8 clerkships or 8 people gets offered clerkships.
How many people were there?
Interview. So basically in that clerkship application, I think you can get up to 500 to 800 students. Yeah.
Fuck, that's rough.
And there's only 8 seats or 8 clerkships available. And I just knew that after the interview, I didn't get it. So yeah, it was a bit harder for me. And later on when it was all released, because once, everyone gets the results out, it's on the same day. Every single law firm releases on the same day. People who got it. It was mostly Caucasian. It's not like Western Caucasian, which is not a bad thing. I think they rightly earned their place. I wonder sometimes if there was a bias involved.
That's a very legal way to put it.
Yeah.
The way you're wording this right now.
Because in the first round, I did quite well in, and that was the actual work itself, the practical questions. But the second round was also, do I like you enough to hire you? And it could be a case I'm not hireable. Yeah, so failed the clerkship. Did not get one.
Yeah.
So that meant I have to keep working, build resume up and try and find a grad role.
I mean, you've already done quite a bit. You've volunteered for a few things outside of law. VSA, you're a big person in there.
Yeah.
Which is the Vietnamese Students Association.
Were you part of it in uni?
Just a member. I think they were giving out.
You were
some
there for
food.
the snags, weren't you?
Yeah. Never really participated and wasn't really big into it, no.
Yeah. The reason why I joined VSA was to make new friends. Because, again, I came from Chester Hill High School, which is a pretty small high school. And Asian was quite a minority in that school.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to make more friends, especially with Vietnamese background, just so I can understand the culture, the people. When I joined VSA, something that I wasn't warned, it was that there was a big drinking culture, even though they deny it. There is.
I think that's like a lot of societies, right? They all have their.
Oh, it was massive
events.
though. Like every weekend there was some kind of drinking party or like.
Wasn't there a camp as well?
There was a camp. Yeah.
Oh, man, wish I went.
There was a cruise. Like if you remember the VSA cruise back in the days.
Yeah, I know of them.
So yeah. The funny thing is, like, I didn't join my university VSA. I joined Western Sydney VSA.
Oh, I know they're a bit different. They got their own cliques, but
yeah, I joined that one, and they were like, "What the hell? Why is a UNSW student joining a VSA in Western Sydney?"
What made it better?
I actually was poached by the president at the time.
Was it, yeah, because you're actually a staff member or someone.
No, actually, so I volunteered for Fairfield City Council when they did the Dirt Festival event.
Yeah.
And a lot of the VSA students actually volunteering there too, which I had no idea.
Oh.
So I met the VSA students and they were like, hey, you should come and join us at the Western Sydney branch. I'm like, okay. So I did that. And then later on, I joined the state branch, which is like the one that's managing the whole entire state.
Oh, yeah.
Became secretary, so elected in secretary. And that was fun. Did for a while.
What do you even do?
Basically run meetings, record meetings, minutes, events.
Oh, God. Sounds like glorified admin work.
Yeah, basically. But again, I loved that there was a family culture behind it. A bit cliquey. Yes, I agree. But a lot of the people from VSA now I don't really talk to anymore, which is quite strange. People just grow up and...
Are they kind of like school friends? Kind of hang out together, but then you really just went to uni together.
Yeah, like if you see them in the street, like, hey, how you been? It's been such a while.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I don't really hang out with them anymore.
Why are they all a bit sketchy?
They're just grown up, have their own lives, all married, and they have kids, and
it's busy.
Yeah,
you can't have a big circle these days.
Yeah,
it's hard to.
But I still follow them around, and I think they're doing great where they are. So yeah, VSA. So the question?
I was just wondering what you did there, because you volunteered there for a bit, and then you got like heaps of experience. Not just in volunteering, but I think there was a lot of it on your LinkedIn, if I remember right.
Yeah. So one of my passion is that I love putting my time to community events. So if there's something that can assist, especially where people with disadvantaged background, I will do so. So every now and then I will just reach my hand out to different orgs to run charity events. So a lot of events, for example, anti-human trafficking against children. So I'll run charity events for that. Homelessness, winter drives. So I'll obviously drive around to all my friends networked, get, clothes or any resources.
That's a lot, yeah.
Like care packs.
Wow.
Because my view is that we're so privileged to be here. You and I, our parents escaped Vietnam and they came here. And so much to offer. And, besides offering my time, myself, that's basically one of the biggest, I would say, privilege I can give to community. So I'm very grateful that I'm here, and if I can give back in any way, I'll do my best.
Oh, it's not a job interview. You're impressing me a lot here. That's all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry. And you also work for one of our local members, which I have interviewed before, Dai Lee.
Yes.
When did you start working with her?
So if I had to rewind when I met Dai. So I met Dai when I was in my first year of university, actually.
Oh, that's a while ago.
Yeah, so
it makes us feel old, hey?
Yeah, it's all linked together. So my husband now, at the time, on our first date kind of thing, he tried to rope me into this scheme where he was a part of. It's called the Landmark Forum, which is a development program, self-development. And at the time, Dai was heavily involved in
Pyramid scheme or something?
No, it's not.
Tony Robbins.
It's like a Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
But that was so salesy, what I thought was a cult.
Yeah.
So basically, Kevin was like, hey, you should come to this introduction program. Dai Lee's going to be there. She's a counselor. Like, who the hell is Dai Lee? Like, I don't know who she is. I don't know who Dai Lee is. So I went there, and then obviously as part of the program, there's a sales component where you have to sell what difference this course has made to you. And Dai was talking about how it gave her confidence, it allowed her, this gateway to the political field and so forth. So she's basically selling it it's her background story to where she is now. And that time, Dai also was going through cancer as well.
Oh, yeah.
So she had a hat on, and I think she was bold, basically. And I remember looking at her, I was like, wow, this woman is so inspirational. She has cancer and she's still here trying to sell this program to me. Yeah. So is this a cult or not? And then
like Scientology.
Yeah, and then after that, Dai went up and spoke to me, and then, I really liked her as a person, but I wasn't sure about this course. And then we kept meeting up every now and then, different community events. And obviously then my husband ran for a counsellor under Dai.
Yeah, he's popped up.
Yeah.
His name for context.
Kevin Lamb.
Yeah. You might have seen him around. I have seen some of his posts around.
He's a local poly. So, yeah, he ran with Dai. And then obviously because he ran with Dai, we became good friends as well. So Dai and I are now good friends. And then when she got elected in as federal member. What
was that, 2022
election.
Okay.
2022 election is when she got elected in, and that was a landmark election as well, as you guys would know. She became the first Vietnamese federal member of parliament, which is a great achievement, and that's when the Christina Keneally debacle was happening.
The big drama, yeah.
Yeah, was happening, how Labor parachuted in someone not from the area. So, yeah, that was really interesting. And then about 1 year into her first term, there was a lot of policies going through Parliament, and a lot of it was hard for her to basically digest and understand. She obviously did have a senior policy advisor at that time. But for her, it's the legalese behind it, understand what each section meant in the policy, what amendment we need to make so that it benefits the community. And then for some reason, she thought of me when she reached out to me. And at the time, I was promoted to associate. And she was like, hey, Bao, hope you're well. Have you ever thought about moving to federal parliament as an advisor? I'm like, no. And she was like, hey, you should think about it because you can make a very big community difference. And for me, it's always community difference.
Links back, huh?
Yeah. The selling point was community difference. I'm like, okay, tell me more. And she was like, well, all these policies that gets, pumped up by government needs to be basically kept in check. But I don't understand it all. I need someone to help me advise on these bills and what actually means to the community.
Sounds like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Explain this to me.
Essentially. So I had to go talk to my boss. I'm like, hey, I know I just got promoted, but is there any way?
Secondary employment.
Yeah. Is there any way I can, work as an advisor once a week for Dai? And then she was like, okay. But by that time, most me and my boss, we were quite close already, so we can have this conversation. And she was comfortable with the idea. And she knew when I decided on something, because I thought about it quite a long time.
Yeah.
So, I started being an advisor to Dai in 2023. And I remember at the time, a few policies was given to me. And what I've done is I sat down like, okay, this is a lot going on. So I'll do a 1-pager brief for each of the policy. So I try to condense it and digest it as much as I could. So then by the time I give it to Dai, she's like, okay, I know what
she understands it.
The key points to it.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell her what my suggestions are in amending it. And then after that, if she agrees with it, I'll write her speech for her. Or help her write her speech.
To drive that change.
So I'm not too sure if people know how bills are introduced in Parliament.
What's the quick rundown?
Okay, so government introduces bills on a day. First reading, second reading, and then you can do speeches. Like members of Parliament can do their speech.
Okay, give me an example. Let's say I want to, I don't know, make puppies work at mills or something.
The government will need to put a bill together and introduce the bill to the Parliament. Read it for the first time and then read it for a second time. And by then members can make a second reading speech on the bill. Basically just say, their views on the bill.
Oh, okay. Right.
And then later on they can do what's called second reading amendment if they want to amend the bill.
Yeah.
So basically talk about what amendment they're raising, reason for amending the bill. And then it goes into division, which is voting, whether they agree on the amendment or not. And if there's no other issues, then they go into third reading and then it passes, goes to Senate and then so forth.
Okay, well, let's dive more into what people might want to know about working in a politician's office.
The main parts to it is obviously you got to be more careful what you say, what you do.
Yeah, so I've heard.
Yeah, so you make sure not to put your member in jeopardy in any way as a media target. So a lot of time we are told that we don't put forward a position on behalf of Dai. So we can't say that, Dai believes in this, I say that. We'll defer it to the member for her to say it.
Yeah.
That's because you can't put word in her mouth. Especially where, it may be interpreted differently. So even though I know what her policy agenda is and what she's fighting for, I always leave it to Dai to project it. And you'll see that she's been saying it, discussing it quite well in different platforms. So she does a lot of articles, she's on media all the time. And every now and then you'll see her on social media just sharing about different policy agendas that she's doing. But in her office, she does have quite a few different type of basically individuals working. So in a electorate office, you'll have electorate officers just doing casework. So you can come in with an issue that's affecting,
I've heard that. You get a lot of those media requests?
Yeah, a lot. So, whenever there's a major event, we get calls going through the office, like it's ongoing. Different, reporters trying to get Dai's position on certain things.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
Can you just not reply to them?
Sorry?
Can you just ignore them? Is that an option?
She shouldn't, because they recorded it on the article. They're like, try to contact the member of Fowler, but she declined to respond.
Declined to comment,
it's just, it looks bad. So, most of the time, our comms guy is very good. So you would have seen Dai do the Bring Your Bill Day and Bring Your Form Day.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah. I've signed up to a newsletter.
Yeah, it's really good. It's because one of the things that's been flying around is cost of living. Issue cost of living. So Dai has been doing groundwork by hosting an event whereby people can bring the bills and get those bills addressed. If it's actually inflated, there's an error or go on payment plans if they're actually going through hardship. Those are things that help. And it's good because we do have multiple languages as well. So Dad will usually bring down, different speakers, Vietnamese, Mandarin speakers, people who speak Lebanese and so forth, or Arabic, to come down to help. And
would that help drive change in
so
to bring bills down somehow?
Well, that's just immediate, I guess, assistance on the ground. But in Parliament, she is trying to hold government accountable. So whenever bills come out where it doesn't clearly address the cost of living for some energy bills, then she'll probably scrutinise it, put a position forward, ask for amendments to be made and so forth.
Yeah. All right. Let's go a bit more behind the scenes. I mean, we at the time of recording this, it's a bit past the recent election. Yeah. Where do you guys print your posters? That's what I want to know.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. So
They just pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, so, actually I do know, but I don't know exactly where it comes from. So Di's obviously been running campaigns since forever.
Yeah.
So every election, she actually recycles a lot of her posters. So you'll see the photos of her still the same from a while ago. So she hasn't printed new ones for this election, I believe. So she's still, it's still the same. But from memory, I think she was using bamboo printing, which are no longer around.
Bamboo printing?
I think it was around Cabra.
Oh, that's the actual company. I thought you were talking about they print on bamboo.
Bamboo printing. I think that's the case, but I'm not too sure because I'm not part of the campaign team. So my husband, he was the campaign manager for this election. So he probably know more than I do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they just seem to pop out of nowhere. When people put it in front of their houses, are they getting paid for it?
So that's a good question. So usually when it's from someone's house, Di will need to ask permission, or the campaign manager or campaign team will go up to his house, door knock, and be like, hey, can I put a poster on in front of your house? We support Di. And usually they agree or disagree. Some people will be very reactive, no, I don't support her. I need to support this other party.
Yeah.
So we can't put it up. Some people are like, yeah, of course, we love her.
Do some people ask for money?
No, from what I'm aware of, they don't. It's all gratuitous, so they do it because they.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Because there are some spots in houses where I'm like, oh wow, this is high traffic.
The corner lots, right, on highways.
Yeah, on the highways. I'm like, surely these guys are asking for some money, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't believe they do get paid. It's all our good faith.
But can you pay them if they do ask?
I don't know. I think it would be weird though to ask for money to have a sign up. I don't know.
Well, it's advertising.
Yeah, it is, but at the same time, it's just so strange. The whole idea. I know.
Might as well get something out of it, is what I mean. Because if you're in a high traffic area, it's worthwhile.
But a lot of them do support and love her, so that's the reason why her signs up into those houses.
Yeah. So I was kind of wondering why some of her posters were photos from a while back. I was like, she looks different to this photo now. So I didn't know she recycled a lot of them.
She does. So recently, actually, I was helping go around different houses to collect those posters back for her. But
how do you know where they are?
So on Canleyvale Road, all the shops that had it, so I could see the signs. So me and the team went around the shops to collect ourselves because we knew those are there. But then the campaign manager will have locations of where certain places are. Yeah, so it's on Excel. So my husband, he was doing this whole massive Excel sheets, all the volunteers, all the houses, all the call flutes. But yeah, that's all him.
Okay, so it's just a big Excel sheet with where they are.
I
didn't know that. I just thought you guys just stuck them up in places and then eventually someone would take it down. Yeah, that's... Interestingly.
Yeah, there's a whole the campaign actually started when she was elected because she was constantly on ground talking to people, to electorate members and to constituents. But I think the campaign is when the day that it was announced by the Prime Minister that election's called, and then that's when the whole team gathers up and do what they need to do to get it moving forward.
During the election, there's obviously a lot of some clashes going on. Can you talk about that a little?
I mean, look, there's always going to be some kind of political feud going on. People will have, different views, different assertions and so forth. And the idea is you're elected for the community, right? So sometimes people don't agree with what you're putting forward or what the other party's doing forward. So you'll see during a time there was different ads going around things. But, end of the day, it's quite standard, it's quite normal. You'll see major parties as well, the Liberals and, the Labor Party going at each other. So it's nothing new. But in a day, if they can shake hands and be like, you know, you did your best, you conceded, I'm sure you did the best in the community. That's all that matters. Yeah.
So you can't dive into it in too much detail?
Yeah.
Is it okay if I talk about it in front of you?
Okay, you can talk about it, but...
Yeah, because I'm not part of the team, but, you know, I thought it was a bit... There was a lot of drama going on if you are a local in the Fairfield area, the Fowler electorate. And I'm a big supporter of... I don't want to sound like too political, but like I like the work that they're doing with Di and Frank. And there was like a bit of a stretch on like some things that were issues that they brought up at some points. I remember there was a post about how the Labor candidate was like not from Fairfield, but they were from like a couple suburbs down, like Canterbury. And I was like, I don't think that's a major deal, because it's like, it's comparing it to like Christina Keneally, who's like from the North Shore. Growing up, it's obviously going to be a lot different, Cabramatta to North Shore, but Cabramatta to like Bankstown, it's not really too much difference. So some things are a bit of a stretch, in my opinion, on what were issues or not.
Personally, for me, I don't like delving too much in political drama, because in the day, how I see it is that we have two very outstanding women that ran for the seat. I knew two during university, and you know, I have great admiration for her too. The fact that, you know, she gave birth bloody during the whole campaign as well, and still stood there, still handed out her how to vote cards. Has to be commended for. It's not easy running for election. At the same time, Di survived breast cancer. Every single election should be consistently hand out how to vote cards without complaining, going to community events. Yeah, like I just admire them both, and it's unfortunate you got to choose a winner between the two. But in a day, like I said, if you're there for a community, you deserve to be there. And, you know, elections every 3 years, things can change. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I have anything against the Labor candidate. I'm just saying like there's two different sides. So I don't want to dive too deep into politics on this episode.
We're lucky. We have, you know, members that put their hand up, and they are outstanding. And it's just unfortunate that we have to pick a winner in a day.
They can just share the seat, right? They'll share the seat. All right, 1 week you're on the seat, and next week I'll be on the seat.
Yeah.
They'll just keep swapping.
But I'm sure you won't be seeing the end of two. She might be elsewhere, different role, who knows?
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about in the politics side?
Well, Di's doing a lot with young people as well. So she has an advisory committee. So if you're under 25, you can join her advisory committee, where you can go out and advise her about, you know, policies affecting young people. I don't think people know much about that. So, yeah, and last year, her youth advisory committee also ran projects within local schools. I think one of them was at Cabramatta High School, and it was about anti-vaping, the whole idea of, like, you know, the effects of vaping on children, on young people.
Yeah. That's a spoiler alert. That will be a upcoming topic.
Oh, okay. But her youth committee ran a project there just to raise awareness about it. And then she had another project at another school. I think it was at Bonnyrigg High School. I think it was Bonnyrigg. That talked about, you know, career pathways and stuff like that, where they invited industry leaders to come down and share their experiences and pathways.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
So, yeah, Di's doing quite a bit in the youth space as well.
Yeah. Well, it makes us feel old when you're like, oh, the young person committee is 25 and under, and then we're like, oh, we don't fit in that criteria anymore.
Oh my gosh, talking about it, it's like, you know, when you're reaching towards 30, and I don't know you, I'm having a massive like quarter life crisis where I'm just constantly traveling because I'm trying to chase a drive or where I want to be. But yeah, I admire the young kids. They have a lot of passion.
Is that the big change? Gen Z, is there a big difference in how their voting habits are now?
I think so. A lot of Gen Zs do have a bit more different policy agendas as opposed to the baby bloomers and immigrants. So, yeah, I think it's important that even members who are elected now consider all those policy agendas in the long run.
Yeah, I just know they're more progressive now, much more open-minded.
They are, they are. So, we'll see how we go. I mean, who knows, one day the Gen Zs will be our own parliamentarians.
You have to adjust your marketing as well. There's so much. I remember seeing all the BRAINROT ad campaigns from Labor and the Greens.
Oh my gosh, you know what? I actually really enjoyed scrolling through the TikTok for Albo, his pages. Have you seen the first trap for Albo?
There's thirst trap?
There was a first trap on Albo, and it was him during his younger days. And it's spun to him now, and I was like, wow, he was
Good marketing.
He was his media team, because it's like kind of like appealing. It's pretty funny.
You know what? I had some ideas for the local campaign, but
Like, why did you not reach out to Di to run her?
what, run a media campaign?
Social media.
Damn, conflict of interest a bit.
Oh, because you're for government, aren't you? You're in government.
I work for Metro, so
Metro, yeah,
I don't think you're allowed to have any
that's right.
political view.
That's right.
They wouldn't allow that.
Well, one day if you're not longer with Metro,
you know what? I like my hours, so I'm gonna keep it.
But Di's still in government, so she's basically, you finish at 5. You're not in private, so it's fine.
True. Yeah. True. If they can match my salary, sure.
That's true.
But yeah, that was like, wow, is this what campaigns are about now? The BRAINROT memes. It's kind of funny though.
It's really funny, and yeah, it's just times change. You're gonna move with it. So
yeah,
whatever appeals to Gen Z, they are the bigger chunk of voters now.
I think they outnumber boomers now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll dive into another topic that you did want to mention, which is something you're quite passionate about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's called death. Belle's very passionate about death here in her work. Yeah.
So I think people know lawyers deal with commercial matters, property, and things like that, trademarking and so forth, litigation. But the other area of law that's not really touched on is estate planning, which is preparing for your death and planning for your death.
It's very, very like dark to just think about.
It's morbid, very, very morbid.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, to think about the whole essence of dying and what happens after dying and what happens to all the things you collected during your lifetime, the wealth that you accumulated, what happens then. Before I went into this area of law, this division, I never considered it. I was like, what is this? Why do I care about it? Where's the money at? There's no money here in this area of law. And to be fair, not many people think about, death and what happens then, which is basically your wills in the States, right?
Especially in the Asian community. It's not really spoken about at all.
Correct. So a lot of it is that our parents don't want to think about them dying and leaving the kids behind, which is really, really hard. But the funniest things is that a lot of my clients nowadays are more younger millennials, I would say. So back then, when I first started, my clients were mostly like wealthy Caucasians and so forth, planning for their wealth and what happens when they pass away. But nowadays, it's millennials that's thinking about what happens to their portfolio of properties and so forth.
We fall under that category.
Correct, yes.
Even though some of my friends and co-workers group me as a Gen Z because I'm just on the cusp of it. They can identify more Gen Z, but...
So you and I, they'll come to me and be like, hey, I bought this property. I want to make sure that it gets passed to the right person. What do I need to do now?
Wow. If something happens. Yeah.
And it's getting more and more common. But then they're like, oh, but by the way, my parents don't have a will.
Their parents don't have one?
Yeah, they don't have a will. And I can't convince them otherwise because they don't want to talk about it because it's so morbid and they just hate the idea of dying, planning for their death. So it comes down to, is it within Asian culture or ethnic culture? They don't want to talk about it. Even my own parents, I've actually raised them because always as a lawyer. I was like, hey, mum and dad, do you have a will? And they were like, no, we don't have a will. And it's like, well, what happens to me and Jen? When you're not here anymore. Not because I want to take an asset or stay. It's just that I don't have to
want the house.
Yeah, the house or anything like that or whatever asset you have. But it's also I don't want to deal with the headache that happens when you're not here anymore. I want things clear cut. So the way the wills are drafted, and a very good will is drafted, it's drafted like a manual book, instructions on what to do step by step if something was to happen to you. So that's how I've been trying to shape my my meeting, my conferences with my clients, especially when they're elderly. So when I come in, so the first step is I try to joke around with them, right? Try and reassure them oh, these days death is so normal. Everyone's dying here and there, just try and
lighten the mood.
Yeah, try and comfort it to them.
Yeah.
And then I come back to the values, what is your core value? What do you believe in? What's important to you? And when you get to the heartstrings, they see the core values and okay, this is important because, for example, if my grandchildren don't get to go to, you know, this type of education, I will be really upset about it. But okay, what do you want to do about it? Do you want to set money aside?
Scholarship or something.
Yeah, or like, you know, make sure that the funding is given to your grandchild so they can go to that school and continue it.
Yeah.
Well, it's so important that my grandchildren are able to continue ballet. But then, you know, if the parents aren't there and they can't afford it, what happens then? So all of these questions comes down to the core values, what they want to do. But that's how I've been trying to strategize it. But with my own parents, it's a bit harder because, again, it's my parents. So it's, I don't know how I'm going to continue to persuade them. Yeah. But the reason why it's important, if you don't have a will and you pass away, it goes through a process called intestate or rule intestacy, whereby what this means is that the court will dictate, you know, who is entitled to your estate. But you got to apply to be an administrator.
Administrator.
The person basically in charge of administering the estate.
Yeah.
So usually it's the spouse or next of kin who is entitled to be an administrator, but they're going to apply to the courts. And that's quite a lengthy process because you got to prove that in fact you are entitled to do so. Affidavits and things like that, and you got to gather the states in. So it's a pretty lengthy process. I remember doing an application for administration for a woman. It was hard because we had to go through all these evidences and get all these witness statements, affidavits from different family members to prove they were de facto or they were together. But even though they had two kids, but then the court required them to get all these different affidavits and different people to prove that they were together. And then
they live together.
Well, right? Obviously you got to prove it, and the only way, because he's not there anymore, how do you prove it?
What, his license?
No, it's not that way. It's not that easy. You can live together. It doesn't mean you've been there for 2 years and you're entitled. You're de facto. Can't
they check the records of like your voting records that you've been in that address?
Yeah, but you're applying to the courts' rights. You're serving them the evidence to prove that you are.
They don't have that on file or something.
Yeah, no, they don't. So you have to give them the evidence to the court so they be satisfied that you are in fact entitled to. So that went back and forward. It was just a really long process. And during that time too, because they couldn't sell their family home, the mortgage just kept defaulting. And then we had to also help her with that process with the banks to try
pause it or something.
Yeah. So for her it was just really stressful, especially when she's just, and for her, it was really stressful because her husband just passed away. She had to do this whole process.
You got to deal with all that.
But again, you can avoid all that by having a will, because the moment you have a will drafted, all you need to do is apply to the court of probate and get it, sealed, validated. Yeah. And then you can go off and get your executors to administer the will in accordance with, the instructions within the will itself, which is a much more easier process. So, it's hard because if our parents don't do that, people like us, having to deal with that process in the long term, it'll cost you time and money.
And what do people run into when they don't have a will, for example? Because you run into that, right? Where people don't have a will, and then all these like seagulls come out from the woodwork like, hey, I knew this person. He owes me a house.
Yeah, so obviously when you're applying for administration, you need to put a notice up of your intent application, and then it gives a call to creditors or debtors to come in to say that, I actually have an interest in this day because they owe me a debt and things like that. You're going to settle that. So that's also part of the process. So far in the matters I worked on, I haven't seen any creditors come up after we lodged a notice for them to say, like, I'm actually, entitled to a debt. Normally it's resolved beforehand, but most of my clients are quite good at that.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't had that happen to me personally.
Yeah, it's not like a hidden partner or mistress comes out.
But usually when I draft, well, this is interesting because I did have a case whereby there was I want to say a mistress, but apparently she claimed to be a partner from China.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so that was interesting because we did not see it coming. And obviously you got to deal with claims. It's called fan provision claim when they claim on the state because they're entitled to the state. Yeah. So we had to deal with that. Can't go too much into it, but it does happen.
A bit messy or
Well, it's messy. It dragged on for a few years.
Wow. Did they actually, can you remember if they got anything out of it or you can't say?
Yeah, they did.
Wow. That's really annoying.
They did, yeah.
Wow.
So, these things do happen, unfortunately, and that's why it's important to have your will in place. I mean, look, a will isn't like bulletproof, so people can still challenge it.
Yep.
Especially where they feel like they're entitled to part of the estate. But it's still something to put in place for yourself.
It's a strong argument, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so weird to talk about as well. So I was trying to help out a family member sort out what happens to them when they die. They've already gone to a lawyer to do the will and everything, which I'm glad I didn't have to sit through, which is fine. But then they had to get someone to sign off what happened to themselves. And they're like, I'll just donate my body to like a uni. There's the whole program for it. And they need someone else to sign for it.
Yeah, for medical.
Students, yeah. To learn on. And I was like, man, this is so weird to like sign off on. He's like, I need you to sign it. And I was like, why are we talking about this? And it's just strange. Like he's all good. There's nothing wrong. But it was just it was weird to talk about that in front of him and be like, yeah, let me sign off that if once something happens, then I have to have the final say and be like, yeah, you can collect his carcass and you can work on it. It's very weird.
Yeah. I mean, I have some clients who put that in the will as well. What happens to the body? A lot of the times they wanted to go to medical research. Some people are just dead set, do not let anyone touch my body, keep it intact, get it cremated, buried, ashes scattered certain places or things like that. So we do have like a section where you get to basically detail how your funeral arrangements are being dealt with. So some people are more religious. They're like, oh, you have to do Catholic rites, or you got to do like Buddhist rites, things like that as well.
I think Asians usually like to have everything intact, right?
Yes, that's right.
I think that's what my mum told me. She's like, you can't donate parts or something because your whole spirit can't.
Your soul can't move on. Yeah, your soul can't move on because part of you are missing, which is a whole another thing to talk about, the whole spiritual world. But yeah, you have to put your body, together. Because if part of your body is missing, your soul can't move on because you're gonna be searching for that part of your body.
That's weird.
I know it's really interesting, but yeah, you're right.
I don't know what happened because people that don't know, I am an organ donor, FYI. I just ticked every box because I was like, fuck it, I'm dead.
And do you have a will?
I don't have a will.
And will you have a will?
Probably should get one after this episode. But I know that if something were to happen to me, obviously, knock on wood, then at least have some use out of me. I've got a healthy heart, kind of. Live up, maybe not so much after last weekend, but at least reuse me. But then I know my parents have the final say. From what I remember, that's the law, right?
But if it's in your will, it's your wishes.
It's not a will, but it's just like you tick the box.
But if you put in your will, it's your wishes.
Well, they can't deny that.
Well, they can if it's just a wish, but they should follow out of respect to you. Most of the time, if it's in your will, people don't want to deviate because they know it's your last parting words to the world.
True.
Yeah.
I feel like should overrule it and be like, no, spirit. Can't do it. Yeah.
But yeah, so the funny thing about estate planning is that, yes, will is one component to it, but people don't know that usually when I do estate planning, it's a holistic approach. So I think about, other scenarios as well. What happens if you are in a coma, a vegetable, and you're not dead yet? What happens then? Technically, you're dead. You're not dead. Who deals with your affairs then? So we have things called living wills, which is like enduring power of attorney.
Yeah.
Appointment of enduring guardian.
Like they make the call whether to keep you alive or something.
Correct. So basically, an appointment of enduring guardian is a legal document that you appoint a guardian to act on your behalf for your health and lifestyle matters, and they can make decisions regarding your medical, dental, health, and things like that. In the event that a doctor deems you mentally incapacitated. So, and that includes, inner life. So pull the plug if you need to.
Yeah.
So that's the document that you put in place. The other one's called that one's called enduring power of attorney. It's the next one, which is a similar way it operates, but deals with your legal and financial matters. And you appoint an attorney acting on behalf to deal with your legal and financial matter in the event that you are incapacitated. So to be holistic, you should have, that component of your life planned for. Still alive, but vegetable. And then the second part is when...
To have two wills.
They're not wills. The first,
Well-
I call it living will, but they're separate legal documents.
Okay, so have a living will, have a dead will.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that's the moral of the story.
The short of it, yeah. Just to pre-plan those two scenarios. But they're very important because, again, you want to make sure that everything's put in place, and if something happens to you, your loved ones are not stressed.
Okay. Anything else we should do?
Guys, those are a lot of things. You have businesses or like companies that you run and you're sole director, you need to do a corporate power of attorney. What happens if you're not there?
Who's the new boss?
Yeah, basically he's going to be managing. And also you can do advanced care directive. So advanced care directive is basically a legal document where it says that, you know, in the event that you are unwell or you need treatment, then these are a list of treatments that you want and don't want to have. So they have all these values you can tick. So you can dictate, you know, exactly what treatments you want, what you don't want.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of things you can put in place, but the bare minimum is enduring power of attorney, appointment during guardian, and a will in your estate plan. Bare minimum.
What's that in layman terms?
Layman terms, living will and dead will.
Living will, dead will.
Yeah.
And what's the third one?
The documents I put in.
Yeah.
As in the corporate power of attorney and then the advanced care directive. Honestly, there's so many documents that you in estate planning. That's why it's like you gotta like consider everything, every scenario, but at the bare minimum, the enduring power of attorney, enduring guardian, which are documents during your lifetime, you're still alive,
Yeah.
incapacitated, to deal with legal and health, and then the last one is your will when you're not there anymore.
How hard are they to write up?
They're not hard.
Without a lawyer?
Like for me, a lot of it's bespoke drafting. So I really try to understand, you know, what their goals are and the values are before I draft it. So I usually bring in a matrix of like tables or different core values. It's like, because I'm a visual learner, I have diagrams. I'm like, this is what it looks like. These are the values. Can you point to me what you think is important to you?
You know what? Why didn't I just think of AI? Can't you just get AI to write a will for you?
You probably can. To be honest, you can. I think you can. But
That's an idea.
But I think it takes away from the human factor of, you know, trying to understand, you know, the concerns that you have too. Because, for example, if I drop, you know, certain clauses in your will, you understand what implication it has. AI may not be able to react quickly enough to the implications. I think with law, it should still be left to the lawyers to advise.
Well, draft it with AI.
Drafting maybe to AI, but I think the advice should still be left to lawyers.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're just saying that because you're a lawyer.
I don't want to lose my job.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How much do they cost usually?
Really depends. So for wills, a simple will is 900 plus GST. And then if, let's say, we have to draft a trust structure, a testamentary trust, with the will, which is, you know, we charge about 1,500 plus GST.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
Just to say, here's my stuff when I die.
Well, so usually in my wills that I draft about 10 to, I think the longest will I've drafted recently was 31 pages.
31?
Yeah.
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 How rich was this person?
Quite wealthy, but also very detailed in his wishes.
Making sure there's no loopholes.
Yeah, so with all scenarios considering, you know, what happens if this person's not here anymore? Does this nephew get it? Or what happens if this nephew, you know, gets married? What happens if goes bankrupt? All things like that. All the scenarios we consider.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there is the option of getting a will drafted from Bao. Hey, do we get a discount code?
You know what? I'm
Actually,
gonna have a chat with my principal sister because I think that's a good idea. I think Russ and Marks deserve it, especially when it's our community as well, local community.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that. It was kind of a joke. I don't know if anyone actually takes up that offer. Please let me know because that is really interesting.
Yeah.
If you want to get your will drafted.
Yeah, I think for me it's important as well. As soon as I got married, the first thing I did was draft a will for my husband. He signed it, so.
First thing you did.
I was like, hey, we're going on holiday to Europe, but what happens if something happens to you in Europe? You know, what happens to you to stay?
That's a weird thing to think about when you first get married.
I was also surprised.
Want him to be die.
He had no question. He was like, yep, all to you.
Did he read it?
No, he's like, all to you. It's all good.
What if the will that you wrote for him was just like, yep.
No, he read it. He read it. He understood it. So I think the most important part was like I had to detach myself as well. Even though I said I drafted it, I got my colleague to draft it because technically I can't be giving him a will where I drafted it.
Yeah.
So the conflict. So my colleague drafted it. But yeah, it was really, really easy. And I was surprised he agreed immediately. He didn't say anything about it. He was like, yep, all to you. I'll sign it.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's just the whole Asian culture, but again, it's so hard to get that on. I think the only way for me, how I'm reaching out to the elderly, is that if I can get a meeting with them and I can talk to them, I can put the heartstrings, that's when I can convince them. But again, how you talk to your parents about it,
Not super hard.
it's hard. But it has to come to a place where, talk about, division of assets. It's talking about what happens to me, basically. I want to take care of you and be there for you, but at the same time, I want to make sure that all your affairs are in order as well. If I can help you, help me, that's probably the best way to gauge a conversation.
Okay. Well, I honestly don't know if my parents have one. I should probably ask.
Yeah.
But it's just weird to ask.
I know, it's such a weird
taboo. It's a taboo topic.
it is very, very taboo.
Yeah. If we want to find your, what is it? Do you want to shout out a law firm or something? What do you want to plug?
So Arver Law, we're at Parramatta.
Yeah. What kind of work can we come to you with?
So basically we do a lot of property law, so property commercial. That's my colleague's division. But I do estate planning. So if you want to get your will drafted or your estate planning fair in order, that's me.
Yeah, okay. And I'll put in the description if we do run a promo.
Yeah.
If you want to get some wills drafted or something, once she checks with her workplace, we'll let her know.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there like any socials or something that they have?
Oh yeah, we have a TikTok and we also have Instagram, but the videos are so cringy. I can't even. We had a Gen Z marketer.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I remember she came in with like all these video ideas and she was like, "Hey, Bao, can you film this?" I can't. But anyways, if you watch it, you know why I'm cringing, because the music choice and it's us, but we're trying to be relatable.
Oh, is it one of those fellow kids moment? How you doing, fellow kids?
It's a bit more than that, but yeah, I hope you see that we're friendly and relatable. That's all I can say.
Arver Law. Is that
Arver
the
Law,
tag?
yeah.
Is that the tag?
Yeah, Arver Law, so ARVER Law.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Bao, for joining us on this episode. If you do want to find out more, you can check them out on their firm's tag. If you do want to ask any further questions, maybe you want to learn more.
Yeah, feel free.
Offline, you can always email me, riceandmikespodcast@gmail.com, or message me on the Instagram, Rice and Mike's Podcast. Otherwise, we'll sign off for this episode. Thanks, Bao, for joining.
Thanks,
Catch you on
Tom.
the next episode. See ya.